WBUR Podcasts, Boston.
I'm Daryl C. Murphy, and you're listening to The Comment. I like to pay attention to expiration dates. If something has been in my fridge or cabinet for a while, I look for the date on the container, and if it has passed, it's trashed. If you or someone you know is like me, this is going to be a good one, because I am talking to Ben Engle. He is the COO of Food for Free, an organization that works to reduce food insecurity by saving and redistributing food items that would otherwise be thrown away. And he's going to tell us how long some of our own food really lasts to help us be less wasteful at a time when food is pretty expensive. Ben, thank you so much for talking with us.
Thank you for having me, Daryl. Happy to be here.
Oh, yeah. So, Ben, before we get into the good stuff, tell us a little bit more about Food for Free.
Yeah. So Food for Free is a hunger relief organization. We're based in Cambridge and Somerville, Mass. We've been around for about 40 years now, doing everything from food rescue to large-scale hunger relief in the emergency food system. Food for Free specializes in the logistics of getting food from A to B, and definitely going out and finding food that would otherwise be wasted and getting it to hungry people who need to eat.
Understood. Now, it sounds like, Food for Free is working to solve this big problem of food insecurity and doing it in a sustainable way. Can you give us some context around how this organization helps in cutting down food waste in Massachusetts?
Sure. So we have a rescue program here at Food for Free. We rescue about 1.6 million pounds of food every year. We've done years where we do over 2 million pounds of food, where we drive refrigerated trucks out to grocery stores, farms, farmers markets, corporate dining halls, university dining halls. We'll rescue good food. Oftentimes, it's maybe getting towards its sell-by date. Maybe it's overstocked. Maybe it's seasonal food that retailers think might not sell. This is food that would all go in the trash, but it's perfectly healthy. It's nutritious. We collect that food. We process it in some manner, whether it's, turning our trucks around and just delivering it to a pantry or another small agency that's going to have a pantry line to distribute it. We have a heat and eats program where we take cooked food that's been frozen. We will break that food down into microwavable meals. Mm-hmm. Those heat and eat meals are delivered to community colleges, smaller agencies, other places where people are that might not have the time to cook, so they can actually have a really nutritious, healthy meal, really easy and fast.
So when you say food rescue, you are literally rescuing food from the trash.
Absolutely.
Also, we're talking food insecurity. It's been pretty rough for folks these last few years. The pandemic, shutdowns, and also inflation. We're dealing with these high prices, right? I go to the store. I was just talking yesterday with my colleagues about just how expensive the eggs have gotten. Tell us about how this has all impacted your organization and the people it serves.
Sure. So COVID-19 and the inflation that came about afterwards really exacerbated and even highlighted the hunger issue in eastern Massachusetts and across the nation. Mm-hmm. The Boston Globe put an article out a few months ago that stated that 1 in 3 adults in Massachusetts experienced food insecurity in 2021, which is just a staggering amount of people. Mm-hmm. From the data that we see and the number of people that we serve, we're definitely seeing that as well. Before the COVID-19 pandemic, Food for Free was moving 2 million pounds of food, and now we're doing 8 million pounds of food a year. So we're definitely seeing an uptick in demand for food. There are hungry people everywhere. We don't think that this problem is going to go away. We think it was always kind of lying under the surface. Yeah. People need to take that seriously when they think about if they're looking to make a charitable gift or something like that. Social services out there, organizations like Food for Free, they still need people's support. as we work on this social service crisis. So yeah, all in all, Food for Free has been serving a greater number of people in a greater number of communities. The hunger is still out there.
We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back with more from Ben Engle.
Politics has never been stranger or more online, which is why the politics team at Wired is making a new show, Wired Politics Lab. It's all about how to navigate the endless stream of news and information and what to look out for. Each week on the show, we'll dig into far-right platforms, AI chatbots, influencer campaigns, and so much more. Wired Politics Lab launches Thursday, April 11th. Follow the show wherever you get your podcasts.
And we're back. Now, folks across income brackets are feeling inflation at the grocery store right now. So I'm wondering if you could give us a couple tips on how we can be more thoughtful about our food so we don't throw things away unnecessarily, so we could be less wasteful for both the environment and for our pockets.
Yeah. So the dates on a lot of the food we consume are not regulated. In some cases they are, but for the most part, you can assume that the date is fairly arbitrary. There are a lot of resources online. You can search, when is something really good until. Mm-hmm. Canned food, for example, I happen to know is typically good for a year after the sell-by or best-by date. Mm-hmm. You do want to be careful if your can is swollen or leaking or dented or damaged. I wouldn't risk it. Mm-hmm. But canned food that looks like it's in good shape should definitely be good to eat within a year past the sell-by date.
Okay. Pasta or grains? How about those?
Yeah, so shelf-stable grains also, I believe, are typically good 6 months to a year after their best-by date. You do want to be careful. Some flours and other grains can go rancid. Mm-hmm. It's a very distinct smell that humans are actually really good at picking up on. If you smell it and it doesn't smell right, I'd say toss it out.
Got it. Okay, Ben, I got a little extra money and I don't feel like cooking, right? Maybe I get delivery or takeout. How should I be thinking about leftovers from a restaurant?
Yeah, I love leftovers. Mm-hmm. So as long as you've properly chilled the food, getting it down below 40 degrees Fahrenheit within 4 hours, that food will be totally fine to eat for a couple days after you've brought it home. If you've let it sit out on your counter, you fall asleep and the pizza stays out all night. I think you want to toss that. But right. Leftovers are great, and if you're ordering a bunch of takeout food, could feed you for a couple days, which is nice to have.
Right. And last one, condiments.
For condiments, I think it's safe to say up to 6 months past the best by date is fine. Again, this would be a case where I look at it, I smell it, I taste it. Mm-hmm. Lots of condiments are really high in sugar, salt, vinegar. These are all things that have preserving properties. Mm-hmm. So, your salad dressing that has quite a bit of oil or vinegar in it and it's been in your refrigerator for a while, it's actually going to keep really well and help keep bacteria from multiplying in it.
Okay. And any tips for how we can keep perishable things good for longer? Maybe vegetables or meat even, What are some things we could do to push that shelf life further?
Sure. A couple of ways that you can help your food last longer once you've brought it home from the grocery store is just all about how you store it. So meat, for example, you might want to freeze it if you don't think you're going to get to it in time. I like to repackage the meat, so I'll take it out, I'll put it in plastic wrap, I'll put it in a nice freezer bag. That'll make sure it lasts a lot longer in your freezer without getting freezer burned. Vegetables, check online or check on the label to see what the best way to store it is. Generally, keeping things in dry, cold places makes them last a lot longer. Mm-hmm. Making sure whether it's something you should put in your refrigerator or not. So onions, potatoes, they stay out of your refrigerator. carrots and greens, things that often come in with a lot of moisture, you might want to try to dry them off a little bit before you store them. I also recommend not washing produce until you're going to use it. So a lot of people wash produce as it comes into the house. Then they store it in their refrigerator and they're surprised when it gets moldy or rotten faster. That's because a lot of moisture has been introduced to it.
Okay. Now here I'm looking for a surprise. What's an item that lasts longer than people would typically expect?
I think eggs is a great example, and it's very topical right now because of how expensive they are. Eggs can last up to 5 weeks after their best by date, and that's something that a lot of people don't know. Cheese is another good example. Even if your cheese actually grows mold that's not supposed to be there, it's perfectly safe to cut that mold off, giving an inch of clearance to the rest of the cheese and serving that cheese. As long as you cut it off and it's free of mold, you're good to go with that.
Okay.
People always think dairy products specifically are maybe a little bit more dangerous or perishable, but they actually last a lot longer than people think.
Yeah. What's a food that people just absolutely should not mess with? For example, I'm very, very cautious with chicken, particularly raw chicken.
Chicken is a great example of a food that's going to lose its quality faster than it will actually become more dangerous for you. Given salmonella concerns, chicken definitely needs to be cooked to 165 degrees Fahrenheit every time you cook it. And I would say that it's going to smell off. It's going to put off an ammonia smell, or it's going to feel slimy when you pick it up. These are ways that you can say, okay, this chicken's no longer of good quality. I wouldn't say it's necessarily going to make you sick, but you're not going to want to eat it. It's not going to taste right. So I would actually pay close attention to the chicken, put it in the freezer if you're not going to get to it. I think fish is another one. I like to put a little tray in my refrigerator full of ice cubes, and I'll put my fish wrapped in plastic on top of that. That will help it last a lot longer. If your fish is smelling fishy, if it's smelling like ammonia, if it's feeling very slimy to the touch, I wouldn't eat it.
And then, before we go, if folks want to learn more about Food for Free, where should they go?
Thank you. Yeah, we have a lot of volunteer opportunities at Food for Free. Also, definitely interested in people learning more about us. If there are food donors out there that are interested in finding a solution for their food waste, or if there are folks out there that want to make a financial donation, we are, of course, always grateful for that. And folks can find us at foodforfree.org online.
Well, Ben, thank you for these tips. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I'm pretty sure folks will find this very useful. So, yeah, thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you, Daryl. I really appreciate you having me.
That's Ben Engle, COO of Food for Free. And if you want more actionable tips on how to reduce your own food waste and eat more sustainably, we have a newsletter for that. You can sign up for Cook, WBUR's 3-week search for sustainable eats. Just go to wbur.org/cook.